In the last lesson, we saw how we can customize the routes, and we can also customize that output that's coming out of the routes so that we can grab that information and make use of it within our front end. So let's go back into our index. So we've completed all of our routes. We've got them all. They're all working properly. They're all get routes. So all we have to do, we just can go to those routes in the browser and we can actually see the output. So now it's a matter of grabbing those routes and updating our HTML in order to pick up that routing information. So we've got our customized routes where we can grab depending on the price that we want. So we've got the conversion dollars here as well. So let's set that up. So let's make a quick update to our HTML. So I wanted to set up, I've got an array of all of the currency values. So I've added it in as a const current. So now what we need to do is let's loop through those. So and we're going to loop through all of the values that are within this particular array. And we'll build out our dynamic options within our dropdown. So let's set that up within our inputs. And this one, so we'll do our dropdown select. And we'll set an option in there. So the default option will be value of USD. So that's the default one. And we'll just call it USD. So now we have something to build out. So let's set up variable option and document creating an element. So create is an option. And we also want to create text node. So do text txt equals, and then we can place a value in here as we're creating it. So let's do current. So we're looping through all of these array items, and the value of I is the current index value, and that's where we're just getting that value. So this is going to provide all of these values into text nodes. And then next, let's append, we'll do an append of child text. So we're attaching the text into the option, and then also we need to do option. So let's set attributes. And the attribute value, we need to set that so that we actually have a value for the drop-down option. Let's make this bigger. It's a little hard to see there. So we've got this select currency, and we want to drop that in. So let's set up our const select currency document, and we'll do the same thing that we have up here. So this is, so select currency is going to be insert before, and we're going to drop in our option. And this is going to be inserting it before the last child. Select, let's select currency, last. So let's try this out. So what this should do is this should build our options dropdown on our main page. Let's go over into that one. And we can see that we've got all of those currencies are all available there. So this is perfect. And next, what we want to do is we want to grab this value and we want to hook it into our routes. Because remember over here, our route is actually outputting all of those values within a JSON format. So let's update that. And our new URL, so our new URL is actually going to be different depending on what request we're making. So let's make this bigger again. And we want to pick up the value of the currency, so currency value. So we're grabbing whatever that select currency value is, and we want to pass this in to our route. So select currency value, so whatever this is, and let's build out our URL. So the URL is going to be equal to our current path, and then the path of the route, plus whatever the current value is. And we can console log that out just to make sure that everything is proper. So within the console, something went wrong there, that we passed in Bitcoin for some reason. So let's see if there's something wrong with our routes. So let's see what happened. We'll take a look at what our data looks like. refresh, hit see all. So we see that we're getting the data, but the problem is that this data is not in JSON format, it's in a string format. So what that means is we've got to do a JSON parse in order to output that data. So that's where JSON parse comes in, because this is in string format, because we're outputting it within here as a string format. Even though it's JSON, it's within a JSON string format. So we're not actually able to return it as JSON. So next, let's also output this data over here within that data format. So let's see what happens. So everything's working once again. So that was the problem there, that for it's being returned back as a string, and we had to parse it back into a data format, so JSON format. And now everything is working as before, but you see now we can change and we can return back values in different currencies. So we can return back Canadian dollars, we can return back US dollars. So let's update that as well, because we see that we're making our request to a URL, but we're not actually outputting it into the different currencies. We're still using the US dollars. And we can see that down here that we're still grabbing that price USD. So we need to update that. So let's go in and take a look at how that data is being returned. And we see that when we do CAD, then we get price CAD as well as the USD price. So that's why we're still outputting something, but it's still not right. So let's go back into here, and as we're passing so we can get rid of these console logs. This is just for testing. So we can see that how we do that output to page, we should also pass through our current value, so that we can grab that value, and then down here we can actually output, instead of US dollars, we can output it to whatever the dollar format is. So let's grab that information in. So this is the currency, so we'll just call it C. And let's output that to lowercase. And we notice that this is all lowercase. So let's set up a variable, do let, and we'll call it currency lower. We'll take the value, so we add in price underscore, so we can have it all as one. And then concatenate together, so we'll do C. And then we'll use the JavaScript function to lowercase. So this will convert the string value to lowercase. And then all we have to do over here is grab this, and we can do it within this type of format. And then lastly, let's also add in that currency value over here. So this is just C, because we can use the uppercase for that. So let's try that out. And one other thing that we do need to do is we need to clear out output so that we can actually see our updates. So inner HTML, and we're just gonna leave it blank. So let's refresh. So we've got our US dollars, our Canadian dollar prices, Australian dollars. So whatever dollar values we want to output that content, we can really easily grab and just do a see all and output all of those charts. So next lesson, we're going to build out the other routes as well. So go ahead and add this into your project. And next, we're going to be building out the other routes and also adding in some jQuery to have a suggestion box for the different cryptocurrencies that are available, because there's 100 of them and we might not know all of them. So we're going to set that up where you can do B, and then it'll do a drop down of all of the available ones. So that's coming up next, and we're going to utilize the routes where we actually output all of the different types of currencies that we set up. So we'll utilize load as well for that. So that's coming up next.